Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Azure Media Services, Azure Media for Education. My name is Nicole. I'm here to assist all of you in getting this webcast started today. Just like to go over a few items together with you. First, please click on the Messages button at the bottom left of your screen, and you can see that there's a Messages panel at left. This is where we'll put in any announcements, and I'll be adding some information on how to interact in this webcast. You'll be able to find that there. We encourage you to participate in this session today by using the Messages panel at any time to ask questions or provide comments. Simply type in the white box and click Send, and we'll be having a Q&A session at the end of today's webcast. If you experience any technical difficulties, please first try refreshing your browser by pressing Control F5 on your keyboard, or by refreshing it using the refresh button on the browser. If this does not resolve the issue, please send in a request via the Messages panel, and I'll be here throughout today's webcast and can assist you. Please note that this session is being recorded. If you do not consent to being a part of a recorded session, please disconnect your line at this time. And now I'd like to hand things over to Sheila Varadin, Azure Specialist. Sheila, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Sheila from Microsoft, and like mentioned, I am an Azure Solution Specialist at Microsoft, and I cover both higher education and K-12. And on the phone, we have members from DynTek, who are a Microsoft Gold Certified National Solutions Provider, and they provide a comprehensive set of solutions to support Microsoft platforms like strategic planning sessions, workshops, and assessments, and proof of concept. They have also been helping with our education-related series of webcasts, including the EMS and Store Simple webcasts earlier this year. So if the name DynTek sounds familiar, you know why. And with that, I will pass it off to Steve Sanchez, who is the Director of Sales and National Alliance Director for DynTek.
Thanks, Sheila. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Another exciting topic we get today. This is one that I kind of think is pretty cool, especially when it comes to the education space, is the ability to talk about media services and how it fits into the Azure Media Services solution for customers, especially in the education space when you start talking about, student portfolios and the capability of being able to utilize Azure Media Services for distance learning and learning education. Agenda for today, kind of a quick overview, who's DynTek, where do we fit in the Microsoft ecosystem, and then I'm going to turn it over. I'm super happy to have my partner in crime here today with Chuck Strain, who is one of our senior architects, and Chuck is going to do a great job of reviewing the Azure Media Services overview for you guys. We'll talk about live streaming. We'll do a quick demonstration, and then close with a Q&A. Hopefully, we'll give you guys the opportunity to answer all of the questions that you might have with regard to this. A little bit about DynTek, just so you guys are familiar. DynTek is a national company. We're based in Newport. Oops, I apologize. My screen is forwarding on its own. We're based in Newport Beach, California. We are a practice-led organization. We do have an infrastructure solutions practice, which is circled around the networking data center infrastructure, collaboration, route and switch. We have our Microsoft practice, which obviously is the practice that we lead with, and practice that really encompasses a lot of the business areas, as Microsoft technologies touch so many different areas. We have an endpoint computing practice around enterprise mobility management and BYOD, as well as the VDI technologies and all of the hypervisor technologies around storage and virtualization, as well as a staffing, training, and consulting practice. It's kind of a little bit of a catch-all for us. We are very big on the staffing and staff augmentation as it pertains to supporting the expectations of customers to be able to support some of the technologies like what we're going to talk about here today. Where do we sit in the Microsoft ecosystem? DynTek is a national solution provider and a nationally managed partner. We are one of 38 national solution providers. Again, I apologize, the advancing of the slides. We're one of 38 national solution providers. We are also a cloud solution provider, a Tier 1 authorized cloud solution provider. We are an authorized devices reseller for Surfaces and Surface Hubs. We are also managed nationally in a vertical arrangement as well, so we're managed for the education market. And it's also good for me to mention to you that We were the Microsoft Worldwide Partner of the Year for Public Sector Education, with a lot of real core competency capabilities within the education space. And as you can see there on the screen, our Microsoft partner logo set is listed there. We are a gold partner in 5 core competencies, and a silver partner, I believe it's actually 6 competencies. There are 4 listed there. Just gives you a good idea of where we kind of sit within the Microsoft ecosystem, but really a very large partner from a Microsoft perspective. And then here's just a little bit about some of the other technology partners that we do business with, and it really does lend some credence to the conversation that we're going to have here today around data center extension, the capability of being able to use Azure and Azure Media Services as they fit. Our capabilities within the areas that you see here on the screen, Citrix is worldwide or North American Partner of the Year in 2013. We are a Cisco a gold partner. We have a tremendous amount of depth and wealth within a lot of technology areas that really helps to augment some of the focus that we have within the Microsoft practice. So it gives us the capability of really being able to be a unique partner from that perspective, because we do touch so many technologies across the spectrum. With that, I am going to turn it over to Chuck Strain. Chuck, thanks for being here, everybody. And really, this is a great opportunity. Please, put your questions in the window there, and we'll get to those questions as quickly as we possibly can at the end. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us here, and I'll be back with you at the end with a special offer for you. Thanks.
Okay,
Chuck?
Thanks a lot, Steve. And good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I really appreciate your spending a little bit of time with us to talk about Azure Media Services. We're pretty excited about this. It seems like a fairly small component of Azure if you look at the Azure system and all of the things that are in there. But it's really an exciting aspect of the Azure system, because honestly, it's really fun to work with this stuff. Setting up the demo and everything for this, I really enjoyed the process of going through it. So drilling down a little bit into what it is, and this slide really just shows the big, broad, high-level aspects of what you can do with Azure Media Services, broadcasting for live and video and on-demand video. Obviously, there's surveillance capabilities, enterprise streaming video portals, and gaming and ad placement that you can do. The Azure Media Services actually offers the capability of doing full integrated programmatic access and control over video, and I'll dig into that in a little bit. And then the 2 main components of it are going to be the on-demand video component, something like almost like a Netflix kind of thing, if you will. And then the ability to actually stream live video, which is pretty exciting, especially in the educational market. So looking at some of the typical applications you might be able to do with this, and a lot of this is around the live streaming, but you also have the ability to do video on demand for classroom-based things, and so you could record lectures and sessions from classrooms, put those up on a website, and then have the ability to offer those up as an on-demand service. And of course, the really fun stuff that you might get into is live events like football games or basketball games that could be streamed out onto a website so that people could experience and participate in athletic events or commencement ceremonies or what have you, all in real time, but not having to be there obviously in person. So what actually is the media service, and what does it consist of? I'm going to do a bit of an overview, and this is just a high-level comprehensive overview and a little bit about the process. So there are a lot of scalable components in here, but the step-by-step basically is that as you can either record or actually live video events and things that you're working on, you upload those video components up into the cloud, up into the Azure tenant, to the portal. The second step is probably one of the most important parts of Azure Video. It's the encoding and media intelligence process. Now, encoding for video on demand especially is pretty cool, because what it enables you to do is to select the encoding type that you're going to use amongst a number of encoding types, but it will also produce a rendered video that will be applicable to be consumed by virtually any device out there on the market. So whether the person that's viewing the video is looking at it from an iPhone or Windows Surface or a desktop running Windows 10, it doesn't matter, because the video will actually optimize itself for the platform that's actually consuming that. So that encoding step is pretty important in terms of your ability to deliver these videos out. It also offers content protection, so you can rights manage the videos so that people have to meet certain criteria or specifications, whether that be a login or a non-repudiation or other means of protecting that video content. So if there are things that you don't want to get out into public, you can protect those videos so that they're not generally available to just the public. Then, of course, the other component is live on-demand streaming with integrated content delivery network. So one of the other big aspects of utilizing Azure as the video and media services is this concept of a content delivery network. I'll get into that in a minute as well. And then, of course, the player client type that you have, the ability to run across multiple platforms with your single video that you've encoded. So real quickly, Azure Media Scenario Overview, sort of some things to do. So storing videos, that's one scenario. You can do Azure Storage for video content storage. And Azure Storage, as you may know, if you've looked at Azure, it's very cheap. Putting information up in Azure and letting it sit there up in Azure is almost free. It's not completely free, but it's very, very inexpensive to store. And as you know, videos can take up quite a bit of space, so that's a good place to put the videos. Streaming live broadcasts, as I said, football games, concerts, commencement ceremonies, things like that can be live broadcast. Video on demand, classroom streaming, and so forth, where you can put recordings of events and then have those streamed. Subscription-based content, so you can leverage, like it says, the DRM, the digital rights management capability to actually protect storage or videos that are stored and have people have to access them through some kind of mechanism that, of course, if they stop subscribing or whatever that scenario is, then they no longer can view the video. You have enterprise authenticated content too, so you can use the services of the add-ons if you're running Office 365 or you have these sorts of services in your environment already. ADFS, Azure Active Directory, and so forth can authenticate to get to the videos. And then intelligent media processing to do voice searchable video. And, of course, like I said, the content delivery network to publish. So those are some broad scenarios. I don't want to get too bogged down in these slides. These are pretty dense slides, but basically, again, you do the upload, encode, you can do the packaging, the content protection, stream that out, and use the content delivery network, and then run that across multiple and various types of clients. So a little bit about the architecture of how Azure Media is actually set up. You can see on the very top level here we've got online video platforms. So you have actually what they call partner CDNs. So again, there are companies that are focused just on media content delivery, and a lot of these, I have a Roku subscription that I use, and I noticed that there's more and more of these video companies that are popping up that you can actually subscribe to, what are erstwhile unknown companies that are producing video, whether that be Thai food cooking or fishing in the northern hemisphere or whatever these video components are. A lot of people and a lot of companies are able to access the capability of producing and delivering videos on a very small scale budget now because of the ability of the services that Microsoft has, things like Azure Media, and then this conjunction with these third-party content providers that basically provide the platform for that delivery. There's a media development kit, and it uses REST, the classic REST APIs. So remember that this is not just taking videos and putting them in websites and so forth, but actually Azure Media Services has a programmatic interface using that REST API that enables you to, if you wanted to, for instance, make your own Netflix. You could program a web service that would actually, show a menu of videos, and that people could select those videos with their mouse or whatever, and then by collecting it, it would go off and grab that video and run it on demand for that person. So you can put that programmatic interface in front of that video content and basically present that in whatever means you wish. And of course, underneath that are the various media services that I talked about briefly: the encryption, the encoding, the on-demand, the live ingesting, and so forth. You can do job scheduling, and you can do content protection. So that's the basic, the core media services underneath all of that. So what's the value of Azure CDN? So this is a really important thing. The content delivery network that's incorporated in Azure, which as a media services customer you have access to, is the ability to deliver that media content to endpoints anywhere on the globe, basically. The concept here is that if a user in, say, South America wants to view your video that you actually have in a data center in North America, the content delivery network will actually align that user with the closest endpoint in the entire network to deliver that video, which means the video is actually running from the Microsoft, or I'm sorry, from Microsoft data centers in North America, but utilizing that high-speed delivery network to reach that endpoint that consumer is consuming it from. So this gives you the ability to deliver media out worldwide into a network that will get it to them quickly, rather than having them plow through internet infrastructure to get all the way back to your, your storage and production location. And as it says with billing, there's no specific CDN commitment. It's basically an on-demand, on-use format that's done there. So, and looking at it from a business perspective, if your clientele or your people that are wanting to access this this media that you're producing want to consume that from foreign locations, then you probably are willing to go ahead and pay for a little bit of money. It's not very expensive to allow them that capability to access those videos. So this is kind of a busy graphic, but it was kind of interesting because these are the actual formats that are input into the transcoding process, and then what the output of that format also consists of. So as you can see, there are a number of formats: H.264 MPEG, WMV, MP4, MPEG, 3GP2, lots and lots of different formats that can go in when you actually upload into the Azure Media. When you put it up there, then you go through an encoding process where you tell Azure Media Services to take this raw video that I've uploaded and convert it into these streaming formats that it's going to produce. And you have a lot of options there as well in terms of the output format that you want to put that media in. And then, of course, once it encodes that, then it can be delivered in that particular format. And it's again, the adaptive streaming component of this is what's important. And of course, that process also allows you to do the security and encryption if that's what you want to do as well. So encoding features are elastically scaled to support many parallel jobs. You can actually scale out. You have little slider controls in there that you can say, I want to have more processing capability while I'm encoding. I have a really big video. It's a 3-hour epic that I've put together, and I know it's going to take a long time, so you can scale out that service capability to apply more horsepower, if you will, toward that encoding. You pay for only what you use. You're charged for output gigabytes. And so, again, you can have videos up there that you're not doing anything with, and you're only going to pay for the process when you're actually using the encoding service. You manage it via the standard Azure portal. And then, of course, you get on the back side of that, the output is broadcast studio quality video in various video and audio formats, and then closed captioning support built in as well. So again, this is just touching on it a little bit, the mobile web experience. So if you have links on your website, you produce videos, this adaptive playback gives you the ability to deliver the same video without having to have multiple copies of it or programmatic interface to do that. A single video that you put up there with links on it will be rendered based upon the actual device that's consuming it, so you get a consistency of that video output across multiple platforms. So mobile responsive portal pages and improved performance and so forth are your advantages here. Again, for securing the video, you've got two different options, which is the Play Ready, which is a trademark, a Microsoft developed security process. You can encrypt the video via common encryption scheme, and it says, as it says, the option of packaging in HLS or dash format. So, and it actually has some suggestions. Who should use this? Premium studio content or high business impact. The other component would be the AES clear encryption, which is a more standard off-the-shelf protocol, and that you can encrypt on the wire communication using widely known, the symmetric AES encryption algorithm. So again, who should use this? Trusted audience or time-valued content. And of course, these are options. You don't have to encrypt it at all. If you want to put out something that you don't mind anybody and everybody having a look at, then you can put it out completely unencrypted so that everybody can benefit from what you have to offer. So again, live streaming. Now this is a really key component. Again, there's a little bit of setup you have to do, but it's really quite simple to set up live streaming. And that process, again, like I mentioned, will enable you to actually produce live video, like I said, whether it be a football game, a basketball game, what have you, speeches, what have you, concerts, and actually deliver those over an internet delivery concept using your own website. So, and it's again, if you want to get really sophisticated in how you present that, you can integrate that with the software development kit and the REST API, or you can just simply post it more or less ad hoc up into links that people can consume. So some of the, just real quickly, a lot of the NBC sports coverage of the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, was done using the Azure Media Services content delivery network and live streaming. And so they had 100 million viewers. And of course, the other thing to remember about this is if you're using Azure, the other Azure services, the web services in Azure, to deliver this content, then you have elastically scalable delivery services as well. So as you need more web front-end servers, you can expand and those out elastically to cover a larger audience. So I imagine the video streaming that NBC was sending down at 2 in the morning in the United States or what have you may not have been watched as much as the stuff that they were delivering in prime time. NBC had the ability to expand and contract that footprint that was delivering those media services so that they only paid and only had to provide for the exact amount of interface and infrastructure that was required based upon that viewer consumption that was going on out there at the time. So how does live streaming work? A real basic breakdown about sort of the high-level step-by-step. It goes through an Azure load balancer first as it's streamed in from a live source. And again, this could be a camera that's equipped with the correct interface that would take that actual video image and put it up into Azure. So it's ingested at an endpoint that accepts the live streams and various bit rates through a load balancer, and it'll convert the ingest from the standard format into what they call an FMP4 format, and then it forwards that stream to preview the endpoints. So the ingest process and then the preview process. Now what that does is it receives stream from ingest and forwards the program and exposes the preview URL. Now this gives you the ability, and a lot of times, as you might imagine, for a live video production, you're going to want to have the ability to preview, and if something inappropriate were to happen in the middle of the video, you have the ability to interrupt that, stop it, however you want to, control that delivery of that video. So the preview gives you that ability to look at what's going to be delivered to your media services before it's actually delivered. And then there's a special URL that you can go to look at that preview. And then, of course, the final stage of that is the program, and that writes that program out to blob storage. And from where it's actually stored there in blob storage, it can then be consumed. So that obviously there's going to be a little bit of a delay between the time the event actually happens and when the ultimate consumer is going to be viewing that. But it's a short delay as it is a truly live streamed medium coming through. And, of course, here's the little blob storage that it lives on. So I'm going to go through a quick little demonstration just to give you a little bit of a taste. My point and purpose here was just one, like I said, to just show you how easy it is, and also hopefully you can whet your appetite in terms of how fun it is to work with this stuff. So I'm going to switch over to my browser here, and I think it'll take just a few seconds for that to come up, and I'm going to just wait until I'm sure it's available. And so what we're going to do here, what you're actually looking at is the media services interface in Azure, and this is in the classic portal as opposed to the new portal now that Azure is being presented in. And what I've done is in media services, I simply added a media service called My Media Services. So that was a very quick add. Within that media service, you have the ability to look at your content protection. There's a dashboard, kind of give you an overview. The actual content itself, the jobs show you jobs that are underway you develop streaming endpoints, and you notice, just for the sake of demonstration, I have one called default, and it's just a single endpoint. But you can see this is scalable, so you can have multiple endpoints up to 200 megabit per second capability. Actually, the one unit is 200 megabit, and you can expand this out to have actually multiple gigabits of streaming capable. So again, that elasticity that gives you the ability to expand your capabilities and pay for basically only what you're going to use. So within the content window, this is sort of where the work takes place in terms of the user interface. You see down here at the bottom, I have the ability to upload, and that's going to be sort of the very first thing that you do. And it's a very simple upload. You basically say, I'm going to upload from a file, from my local file, and it literally puts up a browser window that you go around and browse to your local interface, grab a particular video that you're interested in, and then upload it. After it's uploaded, it comes in and, like I referred to as, basically what would be like a raw format. So this is one I uploaded. It takes a little while to upload, but I uploaded this ahead of time, and this is in a WMV format. Now you see, if I click on that, I don't get to play it because it hasn't been processed yet. So what you do is you run the process component to it. You process that video, and I'll be honest, it takes a little while to do the processing. That's probably the most labor-intensive component of it. But what's really cool about the process is, with the options that you get, you can use the media encoder type, and then look at all the different formats that you have available to you in terms of how you want to process that. Part of that's the scaling, so how big or how small you want to, or how compact you want to make that video, and then the different types of delivery formats that you're going to use. And then, again, and then the output, of course, you can name the output. Now, once that gets done, it's put into an output format, and you can see the output's quite a bit bigger. It came in as about 8 megabytes, and the output is 91 megabytes. And that's because it's processed all of the content capability and format capability for all of those different media types within a single video. So again, this means I only need, for this particular subject matter that we're working with, I only need to manage a single video that will have a common interface for all consumption. From there, you can play it. This is just a little recording I did about looking at a website or something, and I just happened to upload this one. And once you play it, this is what the really fun part is. Once you actually play it, you can take that video content and you can immediately encode that, so you can either offer a link or embed it. So what I'm going to do is, see over here it says, and I'm sorry, and the last thing you have to do after you do the encoding is publish it. Now it says unpublished right now because it's already published. But what that gives you the ability to do is it creates a URL that's the actual identifying URL within the Azure system that specific video is being published under. So I can click on the little clipboard here, and I copy that URL, and then Microsoft has set up a little utility up on the web, the Azure Media Player Services. And what that gives me the ability to do is I can paste that URL, so I'm actually pointing back to that URL of that video that I've now published in Azure. I can put it and update the player, and you'll see here this is the same little video that I had that was in the Azure system. And what I can do now, I'm going to stop him, I can take that and look at code. It's actually given me code, already formatted code for presentation. So what's really cool to do is I'm going to grab the embed code for this. I'm just going to go here and select it. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to pop over to a SharePoint site that I have sitting here. I'm going to actually edit the page. And in a second, it'll let me edit. I'm going to insert, and a nice feature of SharePoint is it has the ability, I'm going to put a cursor down here, to embed code. I'm going to simply paste that embedded code. There's my video. I'm going to insert it. It gives you a little pre-play there to let you see it, and now I'm going to save it. Now, short of the time that it took to do the encoding, I've just taken a video that I had on a desktop computer, uploaded into Azure Media Services, encoded it for delivery to multiple devices that can consume it, taken it out of Azure Media and embedded it into a website. And you can see I didn't use any code or anything. It was a very, very simple and easy way to take a video and actually put that right up into a website. One more interesting thing about this is Azure can use MP4 video in native form. Now that doesn't have the ability, like the encoded version that I set up here, to cover all possible platforms that it's going to be delivered to. But you can just take a simple MP4 video, upload it, bypass the encoding process. You see I can play this. This is a little video I shot. I was in New York a week or two ago, and I was in the captured that real quickly on my iPhone. So this is just a little video I uploaded of that. And you see I'm just playing that natively, but once I can publish that directly as an MP4, I can grab that the same way I did the other one and go back over here and publish that to my SharePoint site. Real quickly, same process. I'll edit, go here to insert. I'm going to put that one down here. I'm going to have a really messy website as a result of this, but that's okay. I'm going to insert that code there as an embedded snippet. I don't think I did that right. I'm sorry. Let me try that one more time. Embedded code. I did it as a snippet instead. Okay, insert, and then I'm going to, save that. And that should come up as an MP4. No, I'm sorry, I didn't get the encoding correctly. Anyway, don't want to tie you up with that. But the point being that you can very easily take information, upload a video, get that production put out of it, get a link, embed it into a website very easily, and build a series of video components quite easily. So let's run back over here to the PowerPoint now. Hopefully it will show back up. And after the demonstration, I had one more slide. Just to, this is kind of an interesting slide. This is the wide adoption. These are all the companies that are actually using Azure Media Services right now. And like I said, I mentioned that thing about I have a Roku subscription. A lot of these I see, like Crackle and Blinkbox, things like that, they actually appear as channels you can subscribe to on my Roku. So I'm like, this is really cool because they're actually using the Azure Media Services to become their own media publishing companies and competing against things like Netflix and Amazon and things like that with very low budget, because all of the infrastructure required to do this is being handled in the Azure system. So with that, I'd like to turn the presentation back over to Steve, who's going to wrap up for us.
Awesome, Chuck. Dude, you're right. That is kind of exciting stuff when you look at the way you went about doing it and some of the stuff that you're able to do. It's pretty cool. Thank you guys again for joining us. I just want to kind of highlight a couple more things about DynTek real quick so that everybody's aware of the fact that, DynTek's, like I said earlier, we're a national company. We've been in business for over 25 years, specializing and focusing in technology management integration. And we have lots of great accolades to go along with the areas of expertise that we have. We're doing a great job for our partners, and we're doing a great job for our customers. As you can see there, I mentioned earlier, Public Sector Education Partner of the Year, Worldwide Partner of the Year for Microsoft. We have some General Manager awards. We are the Intel Security, formerly McAfee, Government Health and Education Partner of the Year 5 years running. Our Cisco Customer Satisfaction Gold Star, which I think now is in excess of 20 quarters in a row, we've achieved that award. And then you'll see a couple of the CRN Fast Growth and Solution Provider 500, just really good accolades that kind of led some credence to the technology and the capabilities that someone like Chuck is able to give you guys. I did want to make you an offer. I promised you earlier in the presentation that I would throw out some opportunities to you guys. This is a great opportunity for you to take advantage of looking at cloud-based scenarios like Azure Media Services, like Azure Infrastructure as a Service Solution, Data Center Extension, Disaster Recovery, Office 365, and some of the solutions that Office 365 brings. This is an Azure Cloud Readiness Assessment where we do an actual business review and analysis of your environment. This is not just a technical review. It is actually a business review. We talk about things like, cloud adoption rate and really what is going to be good for your environment, what's going to be good for your budget, what is your cloud tolerance and cloud adoption. And we really look at the business processes around which you are going to be successful in moving to the cloud. So it's a really great assessment. We're offering this today complimentary for you for attending. Feel free to contact. I think the slides go out to all the all the attendees, and my contact information is right there. As I said, we're a national company, and certainly willing to set up meetings and follow up on this activity as quickly as possible. With that, I am going to turn it back. I guess we're in Q&A, questions and answers now, so I will just turn it back. And you guys, thank you again very much for attending today and giving us your time. I think I'm turning it back over to Nicole. Is that correct, Nicole?
That is correct. So we have gotten in some questions, but just a quick reminder that if you would like to ask a question, go and click on that messages button and type your question or comment into the white box and click send. So the first question that we got in today is, what sort of latency or delay would we realistically see?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out the best way to actually posit this. So the latency between there's two latencies involved. So one would be the latency between the actual, if you're doing a live stream, between the live media and the actual time that the viewer gets it because of the processing that has to take place. And again, depending upon your preview time, usually when you're sending out live video like that, you want a 5 to 10 second delay, and that's usually going to be greater than the latency that the processing part would require, because again, you want to have the ability to react if anything appropriate comes up in the video so that you can either stop it or bypass it or whatever mechanism you set up for that. The other part, which would be just the delivery latency itself, is going to be fairly minimal once the stream starts. Again, because of that content delivery network. So you're talking about fiber connected data centers that are at multiple gigabit speeds that are actually serving those data streams from one location to another. So the latency is going to be very minimal in terms of the content delivery network. And of course, that's one of the big advantages of streaming this over that system. I hope that was the question. That's why I had a little bit of a pause. I was trying to think if that's the right approach to the question that I needed to take. So hopefully that answered it.
Yeah, they did qualify while you were speaking that they were looking at live streaming specifically. So.
Okay.
Okay. Next question. Did I miss the part about indexing, in parentheses, using voice recognition?
I actually didn't go into that. I didn't have a specific amount of slides to go into the indexing, so perhaps we could follow up when we send out the literature with some links and so forth to the more detail about voice-based indexing.
Okay. Could you talk a bit about pricing?
Honestly, you know what? I spent so much time working on the technology part. I didn't look at pricing that much. I'll tell you an interesting part about this. The live streaming requires that. So I have a demo tenant that I use. It's a $300 a month allotment that I have in Azure that I can use as my lab. And there's a channel system that you set up when you do the live streaming, and that's a 24/7 consumption channel. And I didn't realize that when I set that up initially, and it burned through my my allotment that I have for Azure fairly quickly. So I know that that's something that's fairly pricey, and you want to make sure when you're looking at this to only construct that channel when you're going to actually use it to deliver things and then tear it back down, because if you leave it up and running, it will continue to put on a charge. Now, it's not that much because I don't have that much of a budget, let's say, in my tenant. Now, the other part in terms of just simply uploading videos and storing them to be streamed out as they're used on demand is very inexpensive. As I said, the storage in Azure is almost free. It's not free, but it just seems like it because it costs really literally. My tenant uses, I don't know, $5 or $6 a month, I think. I have quite a bit of stuff stored. I have a bunch of VMs and everything else up there, and it's very minimal on the expense of storage. And then there is some egress cost that anytime you access information in Azure and pull it out, there's an expense for that. But it's also just pennies per megabyte on an ongoing basis. Now, obviously, if you scaled this up and had thousands and thousands of people accessing a video that you had stored in Azure, that egress cost would go up. But again, I think that's a cost benefit you look at, because the benefit being, of course, is that thousands and thousands of people are looking at something that you produce. So it's probably well worthwhile. So to me, it seems like other than that channel that's required to be set up for the live streaming video, it seems like a fairly inexpensive proposition, certainly far less expensive than trying to set up the infrastructure if you try to do this on your own. Is there anything else, or
Yes, we do. We do have a couple more questions. How does it integrate with an LMS like Canvas?
Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that term, so I'm not going to be able to answer that. I apologize for that.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I mean, I can just address it in terms of general integration. Like I said, it has a software development kit, and it's accessed through the REST API that's available, as most other Azure components are. So used in a language that you basically can choose using Visual Studio, say with C# or Java, things like that. You can write code that will integrate the contents of your media services into a programmatic control. I hope that answered part of that. I'm not sure if it did or not.
He did clarify and put in course management system.
Oh, course management systems. Okay. Yeah, so basically, yeah, if you wanted to produce that, again, you can take the videos and just post links if you wanted to do it that way. Very simple, no programming required. Have a website that, and I actually, there's, Apple has the Apple University and stuff that's kind of interesting. They have like courses from MIT and Stanford and things like that you can go participate in, they're recorded courses. Same kind of thing. You can just put a web page up that has links set up that will allow you to, sit in on a classroom that someone did a lecture about, core biology or something like that, and do it on an on-demand basis. Obviously really good if you have students that want to make makeup. They may have missed a lecture because they were sick or couldn't attend or something like that, and they have the ability then to just click a link on a website and run that lecture back and consume it. And of course, like I said, beyond simple link placement, you can have programmatic control, so you can embed these things via like Visual Studio when you're writing for more complex code. Okay.
So Nicole, also I wanted to kind of take a stab at that pricing question. This is Steve Sanchez. So I'm looking at the price list for Azure Media Services right now on my screen. I'd be happy to provide you. There are about 120 SKUs for Azure Media Services within the Azure price list that vary based on all kinds encoding data process SKUs, live encoder input hour SKUs, premium encoder SKUs. So I'd be happy to provide somebody with some pricing ideas and some concepts around what the pricing would be. If you wanted to contact me kind of offline, it would be a little bit easier for me to kind of put that together for you and give you that information. But I'm happy to give that information to anybody who wants it.
Thanks, Steve.
Great. We have another question. And it says, compatibility with security spy surveillance, examples of hardware needed to couple and this is in quotation marks, FM MP4 video format from a camera, web-based interface, so should be compatible with most browsers. Which is best?
Can you go through that again? That was a long one.
Yes.
Sorry.
They're asking about compatibility with security spy surveillance, examples of hardware needed to couple and this is in quotation marks, FMP4 video format from a camera, web-based interface. So it should be compatible with most browsers. Which is best?
Yeah, so the input side is the work that I've done with this, and I'll admit on the actual camera interface, I haven't had an exposure to a great deal of hardware, but there, what you have is the ability to tie directly into and depending upon how your surveillance system is set up, if you have the ability to tie into like a PC type environment, there's a utility that you can run on a desktop computer, basically, that will allow you to take the video input off of other external devices and convert that to a format that you can then use to stream up to begin that streaming process and actually interface with the Azure input on the front end. That probably warrants some more detailed look in terms of the compatibility across specific systems, but generally speaking, if you can get it to a computer in some form or another, then there's a driver and an integration set that runs on a desktop computer that will allow you to create that integration up into Azure. And then what was the rest of that? I'm sorry.
So Chuck, before you run through the rest of it, let me just throw out a couple of things here real quick. Again, this is Steve. That, again, is something I'd be happy to take offline with you. I have a lot of customers who are looking at or deploying Azure Media Services and Azure as a whole as a solution for video surveillance, video visitation, video arraignment, you name it in the video arena, there are customers that are doing that. And there is a compatibility matrix for both software input types as well as hardware input types. It's pretty limitless, I'll be honest. I don't know that there are lots of limitations when it comes to that capability as far as the input capability, but when it comes to software and hardware input types and compatibilities, there is a specific matrix for that, as well as indexing software for video surveillance and video like non-repudiated capabilities from a legal perspective or a discovery perspective. There are some compatibility matrices. If somebody wanted to contact me offline, I'd be happy to provide you with a pretty exhaustive list of the options that exist there.
Yeah, and I see now, thanks, Nicole, she posted the second half of that question, and yet it is compatible across most, well, just about all the popular browsers, so Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, and again, because of the rendering and the capability of processing that for that multi-platform, it also works with mobile devices as well. So that's one of the big components and features of media services is that ability to stream out a single video that will be adaptable to allow multiple devices to view that video.
Thank you. Next question, is there a list of recording devices that are supported for uploading and for live streaming?
And I guess that's what Steve was just referring to, so there is a published compatibility guide. Anything else on that, Steve? Or?
There we go. I'm having a hard time taking my mute off. No, that's it. I'm happy to provide that list to anybody who wants it if you want to, or I could provide it to the providers here today, and they could send that out to anybody who's interested. But my contact information is right in there. If you want to reach out, I'm happy to provide it to you.
Great, thank you. Next question, what type of recording is available? For example, number of times viewed, how viewed, like which devices, drop-off, etc.
Run that again, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I hate to have to keep asking you to redo them over and over again. Sorry about that.
That is quite fine. What type of reporting is available? For example, the number of times viewed, how it's viewed, for example, which types of devices, drop-off, etc.
Okay, in Azure, there's quite a bit, in media services in Azure in general, there's quite a bit of reporting capability for use, especially for consumption. I'm not sure about drop-offs, if that's a specific reporting capability, but you can look at the actual overall use. In your dashboard, you have the ability to look at your media services and get a number of metrics that are real-time, sort of like streaming metrics that you can have a look at and see how that's going. And of course, some of that is important in terms of scaling, especially not only for the delivery component of it, but for the processing, the pre-processing component of it as well. Because if it takes an inordinate amount of time to do a particular rendering, then you might say, well, I can expand my resources out to do this more efficiently. So there's quite a bit of capability in that regard.
Great, thank you. Let me ask another question here. I know we're getting close to the end. Let's see. What program interface is used for AMS?
So again, that would be the the ability to use like a Visual Studio type environment and then run that against the REST API that allows you access, exposable objects in the API that allow you to manipulate those videos. And within, of course, Visual Studio, you actually have your choice of the different languages that are supported within that suite.
Great. Thank you. So since we are getting close to the end, I'm just going to hand it back over to you for closing comments.
So thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. Hopefully this was useful to you, and it was interesting, certainly interesting to me, Chuck. I thought you did a great job, and thanks for doing that. Thanks, Nicole and team, for putting this together, and we hope to hear from you guys on the offer. On the follow-up questions, should you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, my contact information is in there, and any additional information, please let us know. And thank you again for taking time out of your day to spend with us and talk about Azure Media Services. Have a great day, everybody.